All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. Do you understand?
G'day guys, Chaos Chronicles. Alright, so we are going to have a talk about homemade alcohol today, or Pruno, White Lightning. There's heaps of different names for it, and there's heaps of different ways that you can make it. So I'm going to run you through a couple right now, and I'll give you a pretty crazy story on the homemade alcohol. So it's actually pretty simple to make. So I remember watching that show Lawless, and it's about like back in the 30s when there was the Prohibition. It's got Tom Hardy in it. It's actually a pretty good movie, but they said in that you can make alcohol out of bark from a tree. So basically anything that will ferment, you can basically make alcohol from. Well, that's how I believe it anyway, and I've seen it made from a lot of different things. So basically, the main thing that's the really hard thing to get a hold of in prison is yeast, but it's not 100% impossible to get. Like, there are definitely places you can get yeast. So there's a kitchen in every single prison, and kitchens where the prisoners make everything, So it's pretty easy to get your hand on yeast. I know it's a lot harder than it used to be, but there's still ways you can get yeast. So what I used to do, if we couldn't get yeast from the kitchen and whatnot, I used to get bread, and I used to rip it into little tiny pieces, and then I used to get a hairnet from the kitchen, and then I used to tie it up in the hairnet, and then fill a cup up with water and sit it in cup and just let it soak, and soak all the yeast out of it that way. And then I would also still put that hairnet full of bread inside the alcohol when I'm making it. So basically, you're going to need fruit of some kind as well. So what you do is you chop up a whole heap of fruit. Oranges are the best, by the way. They are absolutely the best. But it also tastes nice too when you use apples and pears, and pears have got a lot of starch in them too, and that's really good to use, which is going to take me on to my next bit. So you add fruit, you got your bread, and now you need to add some water. You're going to need to add a heap of sugar, because the sugar is what helps it ferment. And I've found the best water to use is the water like with the starch in it after you've cooked rice or pasta. That stuff there is hands down the best to use. I do not care what anyone says, that is the absolute best to use. And so you mix them all together, and you've got to keep that somewhere warm, right? So I know, like at Port Phillip, they don't have heaters, so they've got these bars that run through every single cell, and they're low to the floor, and those things put out a fair bit of heat. So you wrap it up in like a towel or a blanket, and but you're gonna need to put something on it. So the best thing I've used to use for a lid is a rubber glove, because it is going to make so much air in there, and if you put a lid on that and just leave the lid, it is going to explode and get you in trouble, because when alcohol explodes, it explodes everywhere, and it stinks, and you cannot get the smell of homemade alcohol out of anything. So you got to make sure you either use, so those cordials with the popper lids, I've found they work good too. And yeah, you just put a glove on there, and then that will literally blow up, and then you release the air out, and then you got to keep back and going back and doing that. And so that will take a good one. You want to leave it for at least a week. Do you know what I mean? But you really want to leave it for longer than that. I'd say, 16, 17 days is ideal. And then what you do when you empty it, you've got to filter obviously all the thick bits out. So all the the fruit, all the bread in the hair nets and everything like that, and then you can filter it all out. And I found the best thing to use again is still the hairnet, and then you just pour it through the hairnet, and it will all get caught in the hairnet. And yeah, it's pretty dangerous stuff though. So like, obviously, alcohol is controlled for a reason, and yeah, I've actually seen someone nearly die over it. And as a matter of fact, it was on Australia. I was on Australia Day, and we had literally made 18 liters of alcohol. So we used one of those big 20 liter lemon fresh. Well, lemon fresh is like the stuff that they give you to clean surfaces and stuff like that. And so yeah, we clean that out and we use a 20 liter lemon fresh. And so we actually nearly killed one of my good mates. I don't want to use his name. I don't want to embarrass him. But if you guys know about the Postcard Bandit, you'll know that this guy had a coal fender, and that's who I'm talking about. And yeah, he's a pretty well-known guy, pretty. And so yeah, we were all drinking. It was Australia Day, and it was absolutely crazy because I didn't realize at the time, like I was put on Lyrica in jail, and like Lyrica is this drug that makes anything else that you take 10 times stronger. So, I've seen a lot of people overdose from using opiates in jail when they had Lyrica in their system, and I've seen a few people die and not come back from that. So I had Lyrica in my system because that was my prescription drug, and so I had alcohol, and it fully muffed me up. So I was messed up and had to stay away from the screws for most of the day because I was really really messy, and evidently I'm a violent drunk. So that is not the place to be when you're being a violent drunk in prison. It's not the place. But anyway, we wrapped up that day. I seen my mate before, and he said, "Oh yeah, come past. We'll have a brew in the morning when the doors crack." And I said, "Yeah, no worries." And so anyway, the doors crack in the morning, and I lived right next door to this guy, and so like I walk bang straight into his cell, and he's on the floor like out of it, gone, like looks like he is not breathing, and I'm trying to wake him up, and he's not waking up, and I'm like, damn, what's going on here? And yeah, he's not waking up. So yeah, I ran straight to the screws box, and I said, look, man down, my mate's down, I don't think he's breathing. And so this guy literally had to get emergency an emergency helicopter to the hospital, and because of this guy's actually helped escape someone out of jail. It's a well-known fact, and he's a very very high-profile prisoner. So when he goes to court, he doesn't go in the court bus. He goes in the four-wheel drive, and they get followed by armed SESG security officers. Like the real deal, this guy. And so I remember they had to wait because they needed like certain, like he nearly died from them making him wait for the security clearance to get him out of there. And so I remember I walked up to the screws later on that day and said, "Have you heard about old mate? Is he all right?" Like, and they said, "Well, yeah, he nearly died. He actually died from renal failure. From he had ethanol poisoning. So the alcohol that we made was that potent. Like most alcohols have got ethanol in them anyway, and yeah, he nearly died from ethanol poisoning from that. Like that was absolutely crazy, and I was like, damn, like I would have felt half by responsible for that, even though I didn't make it all by myself. But like, I would have felt responsible for that if he had died, and thank God he didn't. He was a good mate of mine too, and yeah, so yeah, he nearly died, and I've seen a lot of people, doing a lot of slot time for making Pruno in jail, and then just losing the plot while they're on it, and you know, uh, people just get muffed up in jail, so they just keep drinking and drinking and drinking, and it never ends good for them. But I have had some good fun times in prison on Pruno, White Lightning, whatever you want to call it. And like I said, there's different ways to make it, so there's different names for it, you know. So if you use the rice, it's called like rice wine or something like that. Then you got Pruno with the oranges, and then White Lightning is all different ones actually. So, but there you go, guys. Prison alcohol is absolutely a crazy, crazy thing. Don't go making it now. And yeah, well, there you go, guys. That is another video. Prison. I can't really do what I usually say at the end of this video, guys. But if you don't want to end up in prison, don't do crime. It's as simple as that. You know. There's no life in it, guys, and you know, although you know it's my thing to tell stories about prison and this and that, you know, prison's just not for everyone, and yeah, don't go there, guys. It is absolutely not worth it. Like I always say, put down the bag, pick up the kids. All right, guys, this has been the Chaos Chronicles. You guys have been absolutely awesome. We out. Right before I drive away to forget,